Welcome to The Fully Lived Life, a podcast for those who are longing to pursue the full life and want to break free from anything that holds them back. Listen in as two friends, a psychologist, Dr. Mary, and a life coach, Gillian, talk about life, love, and purpose through the lens of faith, science, psychology, and life experiences.
Hello, Mary.
Hi, Gillian.
How are you?
I am doing amazing now that, we started because we're actually here together in person.
We are.
Isn't that amazing?
We're in the same room and we're, social distancing and all that stuff, but we felt like we were not giving our best because our energy was low and we felt in a bit of a funk.
Yeah.
And so we said, okay, how can we make this happen that we're back together in a studio type setting together where we can just feed off each other?
Exactly.
So that's what we're doing.
Yes, because I have missed hanging out with you. It's been difficult. Like, it's great that we can see each other through video, but the in-person, the energy, I can already feel it right now.
Yeah.
And I already feel better, more upbeat, even though we spent maybe about an hour setting up because this is a whole new gig again. We are so brave. I am patting myself on the shoulder. You do the same as well because we are hanging in here. We've trying all sorts of different technologies. And so we're doing it together in person, but yet we're still trying to do this audio video thing.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of moving parts and sometimes they don't move in the same direction as we want them to move.
Exactly.
And that creates a little bit of stress. So.
Yes. So my brain's a little tired. I'm feeling a little bit stressed, even though I'm also really happy to see you.
Well, you know what? I've got the cure for that today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
So think of this as a cheap infomercial. Today, listeners, first of all, we do want to let you know that we're going to be taking a little bit of a break.
Okay, yes.
So this is the last recording of 2021, and we'll be back on the other side in January at some point.
Yes.
Okay, so stay tuned.
But before we log off for the year, we want to give you a little gift.
Yeah.
So Jillian's going to share her infomercial about what this gift is.
We're taking you all to Vegas. Yeah. So hop on board. And you don't even need to pack or anything like that. You just need to tune in and give us your attention. And we want to talk to you a little bit about something called the vagus nerve today and why it's so important.
Yes.
Because it is.
It is super important. So here we are. We're going to hop on to go to Vegas and figure this out. So what's so important about the vagus nerve? Why is it such a gift that we can give to our listeners and viewers?
Well, because it really helps us with our stress response.
Okay.
And I don't know about you, Mary, but, I thought we'd kind of be in a different place by now at this point in 2021.
Yeah.
And, we're getting some tricky news behind the scenes. And I know for a lot of you that's impacted maybe the way you'll do Christmas, maybe the way you'll approach the holidays, who you can see and who you can't see. And that's causing stress, too.
Yeah, it sure is.
I'd hope to see my family. I'd hope to have kind of a nice big gathering, and that's not going to happen this year.
Yeah.
So it's
let alone the usual stresses of Christmas because, it is family time and some of us have different circumstances around what that means.
Yeah.
And it could be bittersweet.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We're aware of that. And we don't want to be dismissing how this season can be difficult. So that's part of the reason why I want to do this episode for you.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And so this vagus nerve that we're talking about, the reason it's so important for us to understand why it's important is because we can actually help it along.
Okay.
So we have the power, we have control, and we have the ability, if we have a couple of simple tools in our toolbox, you don't have to go to the pharmacy for any of the stuff. You can literally tap into it. And we want you to be able to have the tools to not only learn this for yourself, but to learn it for your family.
Right.
Especially, I'm seeing stress in kids and in teenagers and in young adults. And they're also feeling like the fatigue of a very, very difficult couple of years.
Yeah.
And so if we can help them along too, it's really going to impact all of us.
Yeah. And what we're talking about sounds really simple. And it is.
It is.
But it does mean that it's something that we want to practice regularly.
Yeah.
So it is related to our relaxation response. It is, as we know how our body is wired, how our brain is wired, we know how to manage it better. We aren't held hostage to what our system is doing on its own.
Yeah, I think sometimes we kind of wish that there was a simple solution, right?
Right.
Like if I could just take this magic pill or do this thing, that everything would be okay. Unfortunately, it's not like that, but we do have the ability to manage some of the things on our own if we practice and make some good habits.
Yeah.
And I know deep breathing for me has been a godsend over this last year.
Well, we've talked about this before, the internal versus external locus of control. And right now it can feel like things are so out of control. We don't even know what tomorrow is going to bring.
No.
And we can get more anxious. And anxiety is one of those things where if we can predict the future, then maybe we would feel better. And that's the lie of anxiety. And that's what increases the stress for us. So internal locus of control, and this is the gift, is that there are things that you can actually do to help yourself, to help your own anxious thoughts and your own stress level. So I think that's really great.
Yeah, just you have power.
Yeah.
And sometimes we feel like we're powerless, but no, you have power over these things and we can teach them.
Right. So,
without
bring it
further
on.
ado,
so
I'm going to make sure that we put up an anatomically correct.
Okay. That makes me think of something.
I loved saying that right then. An anatomically correct visual of this nerve called the vagus nerve.
Okay.
And vagus means wandering.
Wandering. Ooh.
Yeah. So you'll get the idea of this wandering nerve as we talk about where it starts and where it goes to. So Anatomy 101 here, tune in. So the nerve runs from the cranium. It's a cranial nerve. It runs from your head.
Yeah.
And it runs by your ears, your facial muscles. Then it runs down your throat. It runs into your heart. And then it runs down through kind of all the organs down to your gut.
Okay. Oh, I
Mary,
think this is going to be really good.
When you feel anxious, stressed out, where does it affect you in your system?
Totally in my gut.
Yeah, me too.
I get nervous stomach. I feel this tension in there. Well, I mean, I do have other things. My heart starts to race a little bit. It beats faster. But I think I primarily feel it in my gut.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. So if you're, finding your muscles taut and your heart racing and an upset tummy, upset gut, that nervous gut that, you just feel off, that's probably a stress response.
Yeah.
And the difficulty with this vagus nerve is it is really, really good when it's working at its best, and that's for normal stress.
Right.
But in a time of chronic stress, where the stress kind of isn't letting up, it's not able to turn the switch. So this little switch that it does, it goes from the sympathetic nervous system, which is the one that's kind of trying to deal with the stress and manage it. And it will switch to the parasympathetic, which is the thing that kind of gives us the chill, central nervous system, calm, even regulated.
Yes, and the other really interesting thing is that both systems can't be on at the same time. So by purposely switching on our parasympathetic nervous system, it allows the sympathetic nervous system to actually rest.
That's right.
So that's key.
And it needs to rest because it might need to get ready for the next stress.
Exactly. And then that's the challenge. Under times of chronic stress, just like you said, your body is on hyper alert for perceived dangers or risks and all of that. Like, think about this. You go to a restaurant, for those people who are choosing to do that. And you have to be like, make sure we're distant. Is somebody coughing on me? Have I checked my, vaccine passport properly? I mean, there's just so many thoughts that you have to be tracking now that is out of the normal for us, that it can make us in this hyper alert state, which keeps us in this regular sympathetic nervous system.
And then if you have kids at home, you're wondering, are schools going to shut down? Am I going back to online learning? And all the other things that go along with it.
Yeah.
So this vagus nerve has this little switch that will switch us from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic, help us regulate. However, in chronic stress, it gets stuck.
Oh, okay. Yes. So.
And then guess what? It's unable to switch. And it gets stuck and it needs our help.
Okay.
So this is where we have the power. This is the point where we can step in and we can help our vagus nerve do the work that it's supposed to do. So
right.
We know that breathing techniques are super important. So the first way that you can actually help your vagus nerve make that switch is to regulate your breathing. So Mary, could you walk us through the box breathing technique again?
Box? Sorry. You can tell we are so scripted here.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll tell you of the type of breathing that I do. I don't even know what it's called. I call it the 4-6-8 breathing. And it's just breathing in deeply for 4 counts.
Through your nose,
holding it for 6 counts, and then breathing out for 8 counts. The key being that you're breathing out longer than you're breathing in. And I don't know how many times we talk about deep breathing, and I bet you everyone knows breathing is supposed to help, but it really does work. So breathe in 4. So I usually breathe in. And what I have done, and we've talked about this before with the 4-6-8, is I sometimes will do these counts like Jesus loves me, or something that is meaningful that helps me focus my mind as I breathe in 2, 3, 4, hold, and then 6 counts, and then breathe out 8 counts. And I would say do that for, 5 minutes.
Yeah, do it as many times as you need to. So the other thing is you said that we're exhaling through our mouth longer than it took us to take the breath in. Right. And that's the key. The key is in the exhale. Yeah. So the longer you take to exhale that breath, the more it's able to help that switch flip. Yeah. So this is a simple, I'm teaching our grandson right now. When he gets stressed out, and he's upset that something's not working and he's going to throw something, we stop and we do this breathe. So if a 3-year-old can get it, you can get it. Yeah. And it's actually helping him. But it also helps me because I'm doing the breathing with them, which makes me calmer.
Exactly.
Yeah, so this is a great tip to help your kids. Because the difficulty with chronic stress is all the things that it can lead to, the health issues. Right. So, want to hear the quick list, Mary?
Sure.
I mean, high blood pressure.
Yeah.
Heart disease. Diabetes. Depression. Right. Anxiety. GI disorders, irritable bowel, all those kinds of things. And burnout. Yeah. And then just the emotional exhaustion, which I think all of us are kind of there. Right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, sometimes it just feels like we're white-knuckling our way through life because we're just so stressed. Yeah. And we're so tapped out. And, I think part of being resilient to handle the ups and downs of life and the fact that there's so much unknown is if we're doing our job and taking care of ourselves and giving ourselves the capacity, like the space, so that when things happen, we're actually able to cope. That's really key. Because otherwise, if we're just white-knuckling it and we're just trying to get through, we're already so tapped out that if something happens, and life happens, we don't have a lot of
there's no capacity left. Yeah. There just isn't. So the breathing technique is a huge one, and your whole family can learn this. It's really, really great. Yeah. And so this will actually help you to calm down whatever's happening and flip that switch. The second thing is that what we need to do is we need to get outside.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
So getting outside into nature in your neighborhood, if it's through a park, don't take your phone, just take in the sights and sounds. Make that a 5-10 minute walk around your neighborhood. Get out with your dog, get out with your child, get out with your kids, go for a little walk. That is really, really going to help. Right. It actually helps to make this switch happen.
Well, we've been doing forest therapy walks with our friend Wendy. And of course, not only is it just such a pleasure to be with our good friend, but to actually be in nature. And she was saying something I didn't remember. We'll have to invite her. It's something about with the pine trees give off some sort of thing into the oxygen that actually helps us feel better. Yeah. So the thing about the forest bathing is that the nature is actually affecting our nervous system as well. Yeah, because let alone just the fresh air.
You're getting all this extra oxygen into your lungs, which is great. Yeah. So breathing and then getting outside. The other thing, if you can't get outside, is going and splashing some cold water on your face and on the back of your neck, where that nerve is originating from. Okay, that's an easy one to do, right? Yeah. So that right away will help that switch flip back.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, it's super easy. And if you've got a kid that's having meltdowns, go and show them. Let's cool down, get a face cloth, put it on the back of their neck. Just do some things that will help them too.
I love that. And of course, if you're feeling stressed out, one of the things when you have a kid who is already in sort of overwhelmed meltdown mode, they're extra sensitive to your attention. And you just have to have your voice even slightly dysregulated, and they're going to pick up on it, and it actually adds fuel to the fire.
So before that, Mary, if this vagus nerve is going from the cranium and it's affecting your facial muscles, they're seeing the change in you without you being heard first.
Right. Those little micro expressions. I mean, we think we have such great self-control, and we may be trying to school ourselves, but our kids, especially when they're upset, they can really pick up in a nonverbal way all that's going on with us. So if you have to do the splashing the water on yourself first, go do that. Yeah. Take some deep breaths and then go and help your child calm down.
Now the next one is humming.
Humming.
Yeah.
This reminds me, when I jump into the cold water, I always go,
Yeah, well, you're hitting both of them. And you probably take a few deep breaths before
That's true.
So there you go. Go jump in a lake. The humming, remember, because that nerve runs through the ears. That humming actually helps to make that switch happen. But also, if you cup your hands over your ears while you're humming, it actually accentuates that vibration and the hum for the nerve.
I would not have thought of that. See, here you go.
So these are super simple things to do. And 3 of those 4 you can do on the spot.
Right.
You can head to the washroom, get the cold water. You can hum, and you can count and do your breathing.
Right.
If you can't get outside, okay, save it for when you can. But those are 3 things that you can do. And those are 3 things that you can teach your kids.
Right. Oh, I love that. Sometimes just to interrupt, if I'm starting to spiral into anxious thoughts or I'm feeling really nervous or I'm feeling really upset, to know that I can do this to interrupt that. Yes. And it's not that the problem goes away. I still have to go and problem solve afterwards, but it sure helps me to think more clearly when I've been able to calm myself down.
Well, the other thing, too, is it gives you the power back.
Yes.
Well, things are kind of out of control around you. It gives you the control over what you can do to keep yourself calm.
Right.
And that is such a gift.
Well, just to know that this wandering nerve, how it affects every single one of our systems in our body, that by turning the switch on, we can actually calm our body. Yeah. That's pretty miraculous. I mean, that's just amazing how God has designed our bodies.
When it says we're fearfully and wonderfully made, we are. And actually, we have a lot of tools right at our disposal.
Right.
And I think this is a really important one that will help us in this time for sure, but ongoing. We'll be able to tap into this. And I know for me, I mean, I walk my dog every day and I do the deep breathing every day. And when I find myself getting anxious, I take a few deep breaths and just calm myself down. It regulates my heart rate and it regulates my breathing, and that sort of calms it down.
Yeah, and for those people who are people of faith and use prayer, I mean, you can do breath prayers. We've talked about that before, where you're doing your breathing, but you're also praying as well. Yeah. Breathing in all the good love and gifts that God has given us, and then breathing out all the stress and the worries and the lies and the negative thinking and all the things that we just want.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. And you can even Google breath prayers, and there'll be a whole list of things that you can do there.
Yeah. One thing I want to comment on, too, with this is I know it sounds so simple, but, we've talked about this before. Like, life isn't about figuring out all the ways that we can be in control, all the ways that we can ensure that things are smooth, that we're prepared for whatever disasters around the corner, because that's frankly setting yourself up for failure, because it's not possible. There is this component of coming to terms with life as is, being able to have that, we've talked about before, the attitude of gratitude and noticing what's so great. So by doing this, even to be doing breath prayers and thanking God for the gift of breathing. And that something so simple as this can help calm my vagus nerve so that I can better cope. I mean, I think that is such a gift.
Yeah, I do too. And I think that because it's also something that we can teach others.
Right.
Like we have the power to do it. It's pretty simple, but then we have the ability to teach others how to calm themselves. The one thing I will say is a life coaching tip is we've said this before. Habits take a while to develop. So what I would suggest is start the practice. Start one or two of these practices now. Practice them frequently because when you're in stress, you tend to forget what you need to do. Right?
Yeah.
So we get caught up in the stress and we get anxious and then we start to spiral with our thoughts. So we need to be able to practice these things so that we know what to do. Think of it like, when you see emergency task force doing what they do and protesters are hurling insults and spitting at them and they're so calm, cool, and collected, it's because they've practiced.
Exactly.
They're not waiting until they're in the line of fire to figure it out.
Make it habitual.
No.
For sure.
So remember, in the book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, he says, the best way to stack a habit is to do something that you're already doing. So when you first wake up in the morning, take a moment just to practice your breathing and set yourself up
You're
for the day.
You're probably already yawning and stretching, so then you can just add on deep breathing as well.
Yeah, and when you walk into the washroom after you've done your morning, as the Irish call it, the morning ablutions while you're brushing teeth and everything, splash some cold water in your face. Just get into the practice of it. Walk, when you can, walk, and make sure that you're not listening to things on your phone and distracting your mind. It's simply purely for the fact of de-stressing and making that switch happen.
Yeah.
So my encouragement to you is pick one, pick two, and start practicing them. And as often as you can so that you've already developed the habit and you don't need to go, what was Gillian saying that time? What was Mary saying about breathing? I don't remember. No, you'll remember because you practiced it.
It's so fascinating because one of the commitments I've made to myself and to the Lord is practicing centering prayers at least twice a day. And I was doing it more from the standpoint of just centering myself and reminding myself of who's for me and why I do what I do and all those good things. But now it's physiologically also helping me manage my stress. So it's so great how our spirituality can be part of how God has wired us to be, and we can include it all together. I mean, we often think that spiritual practices is just about reading the Bible and praying, but being able to do deep breathing can be a spiritual practice as well.
Mary, in all of the faith practices, there is an element of this.
Yeah.
And in some other forms of meditation, people will breathe and, say a certain syllable.
Yeah.
So it's not rocket science, but why don't we already know these things? Because it's such a simple thing to do.
Yeah. I will also add onto our link some description of centering prayer, just some ideas for people to do. And it's not really that complicated. It's just coming up with a particular thought and idea and being able to repeat it in your mind or say it out loud to help you be focused, or sometimes even looking at a picture of something that reminds you of whatever the concept is that you want to focus on. And for me, for this coming season, the concept is love, and just reminding myself that I am loved. And that as I am able to, as John 15 talks about in the scriptures, about being able to nourish my heart in the love of Jesus Christ, just to nourish, I just love that word. I can take a deep breath and I'm filling myself with his love. And then when he asks us to love others as I have loved you, I'm full. And so that can just kind of come through because of that simple discipline of doing that. I need it.
Yeah.
My body needs it. My soul needs it. And that actually allows me to show up more in my true self and in all that God is asking of me. And effortless isn't the right word, but there's a flow that happens.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And I mean, what a beautiful way to combine some spiritual practices with some medically, scientifically proven ways to regulate what we've been given in this body of ours.
Right.
And so I think the two going together is just wonderful. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And for my therapeutic tip, I do want to recognize that some of us struggle with mental health challenges. If you have an anxiety challenge or depression, it may seem like this is not enough. And in fact, I would encourage, if you're not already, to consider psychotherapy. And sometimes it's not so much that they're going to teach you anything that you don't know. It's just to know that somebody is there with you and for you. And you have this regular place of meeting where you feel heard and understood. And also just even the accountability to do these exercises and do this. So it sounds so simple, but it's so powerful. And of course, for many people who have mental health challenges, there could be unresolved trauma. So I don't want to diminish that. No. And that may be, in fact, your body telling you that the reason why it's on hypervigilance is because it has some trauma that it needs to resolve.
Yeah.
So if you do this practice and you're finding that it's not seeming to make any headway for you, consider whether you want to get some actual assessment done with your doctor or psychologist or psychotherapist to just kind of get a sense of where you're at. So that would be my therapeutic tip. I don't want to diminish the fact that there's complexities in all of our responses to life. Yeah.
Important thing. Thank you for the reminder, because we never want to play down some very important issues in people's lives, and we don't want to minimize it.
Right.
So thank you for that, Mary. As I cough my way out of this.
That's right.
Thanks for tuning in today. And again, we'll post what this looks like. We're also going to post the centering prayers that Mary shared. So you'll be able to tap into those.
Yeah.
And we hope that you have a wonderful Christmas season.
Yes.
And we'll see you in the new year.
In the new year, in 2022.
Oh,
Take care, everyone. Thanks so much, by the way, for tuning in.
Yeah.
We are blown away by our numbers. Where is it? 51 countries?
51 countries.
Sheesh.
Oh, my
listening
goodness.
in. And I know we have some stats, and it just is mind-blowing. So thank you for faithfully listening and sharing. Please continue to do so. We are doing this because we want to help people get the word out.
Yeah.
And if this helps you, please share it with your friends and your family.
And we joke that we'll have to go on a road trip to all 51 countries.
Oh, I'm in. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Fully Lived Life podcast. We hope you found it encouraging and helpful. Be sure to follow or subscribe so that you never miss a new episode. And if you enjoyed our show, please help spread the word by sharing with your friends and family and posting on your social media. Thanks for listening, and tune in to our next episode.